the West Bank with Israeli activists and start observing the protests that were going on around the wall and observing settler violence and soldier violence and things like that. And as a way of dealing with this emotional discharge, I started writing about it on a blog, which then kind of got picked up. And lo and behold, now I'm working as a journalist full-time from Ramallah. I should just note that I'm not associated with the Ademir organization. I'm not working for them. I'm an independent journalist, just for your YouTube video and your audience. So one of the first major stories that I started to cover, because I was going on a weekly basis, was the village of Nebe Saleh, which is a small village about 15 minutes west of Ramallah. Very small. I think the last time I checked, there's something like 500 inhabitants. In 2010, the village decided that it would engage in an unarmed demonstration movement. They formed a popular committee, not because the wall was being built there, and I do think it's important, just as a note, that the wall demonstrations are not against the wall as a wall. The Israeli separation barrier is oftentimes not being built on the internationally recognized Green Line, and in many cases it's being built directly inside of a village, often cutting the village off from the village's livelihood, the farmland. And so these demonstrations aren't saying, okay, Israelis, we deny you the right of having a wall and we're against this. It's saying, if you're going to build a wall, do it on your land, and don't do it on our land, and don't cut us off from our livelihoods. But Nebe Saleh doesn't have a wall. What happened there is that a group of settlers from the neighboring Jewish-only settlement of Halamish decided that they would take over the agricultural spring of Nebe Saleh in a just kind of sovereign and hostile act. The army, acting as the good guards that they are for the settlers, immediately enforced this takeover, and so the village decided to form a popular committee, which then had demonstrations on a weekly basis, mostly on Friday afternoons, which feature regularly Israeli and international activists. The way that these demonstrations take shape on the actual demonstration day is that villagers, Israelis, internationals get together, they sing songs, kind of hokey songs in my opinion, but sing songs. They have flags. They then attempt to march to the spring, demonstrating the fact that it's their spring and not property of the settlers. Often the army stops them before they even get close. Sometimes the army stops them before the demonstration takes place. The army uses a very strict form of crowd control measures. Oftentimes they're using non-lethal, what we call non-lethal crowd control measures in a lethal way. Right, so using tear gas, which should be shot at an angle so that the gas goes all over the place, is usually shot directly at protesters. This has resulted in the death of at least one demonstrator in the village of Bielin. It should be noted that since, I believe it's 2005, 21 unarmed demonstrators have been killed in connection with these demonstrations. I don't really know how to work this, so we're going to, that's not what wait, end show, right. Right, so just to give you an idea of what these kind of demonstrations look like, this is a short clip that was filmed using a B'Tselem video camera. B'Tselem is an Israeli human rights organization which has actually recently come under a number of attacks in the Israeli parliament, which I'll get to later. And part of their work is to hand out video cameras to Palestinians so that they can document what's going on, and then they distribute that material. This is from the 13th of May, and you can see the title. And I'm going to open it big, and there we go. So this is just a good representation of what I've seen many times in Nebe Saleh. Can you? I don't. I